I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making onion leek bialys. And if you've never had a bialy, picture this. Take a bagel, a chewy bagel, flatten it, and you know the hole inside? Fill it with onions and poppy seeds. Only I add leeks to mine as well. Now, the bialy actually originated in Bialystok, Poland, so hence the name bialy. And they're very popular in New York City Jewish bakeries. Just a little background. So it starts out with a yeast dough, and it's a super easy yeast dough known as a lean dough, which means it has no fat, no eggs, no sugar, 4 ingredients. Very easy. So come over to my mixer, and I want you to see what I'm doing. I have a whisk. I have 4 1/4 cups of bread flour, 2 1/4 teaspoons of kosher salt, and I have a teaspoon of instant active yeast or fast rising yeast. All right, so that'll take a little less time to rise, only we are going to give this a nice long slow rise because we want beautiful chewy puffy bialys. Now I'm whisking this up. You can use a paddle if you want to use your paddle attachment. I find it just doesn't mix it very well. So once I whisk it, I'm going to get rid of my whisk. And now I'm going to take my dough hook, my Captain Hook dough hook. All right, I'm going to put it on. This simulates the kneading process, although we are going to hand knead a little bit. 1 3/4 cups of 70-degree water, and that's relatively cold water. So I'd like you to, if you have a thermometer, use it. If you don't, just feel it with your finger. If it's a little too cool for you to take a bath in it, it's probably good. 70 degrees is actually cool. Not cold, but cool. Cold water will actually kill yeast. So you want to make sure you don't kill your yeast. So make sure your yeast is not expired and you're using it within date. Now once I have this, come on over and you can see, I'm actually not going to knead it for like several minutes. I'm going to put it on a bowl because I'm a hands-on baker. I like to actually feel my dough. So what I'm going to do, once you get a nice little dough going and it's getting stuck in that dough hook and it's making awful noises, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to pull my hook up, all right, and then I'm going to move it to a work surface. All right, so follow me to my work surface. So it's sort of stuck in the bowl. If you don't have a bowl scraper, don't worry. A bowl scraper is a very malleable piece of plastic, and I'm just going to scrape around my bowl and get that out, my dough out. If you see a lot of stuck on pieces, just get them out. All right, we're done with that. And that is not to be confused with a bench scraper, which we're going to use in a little while. So we're going to knead this. This looks like a shaggy dog, and that's how most yeast doughs start before you start kneading them. So I'm going to start kneading the traditional way. So you use the palm of your hand and you just push and roll it back to you. Push and roll it back to you. And gather up all these beautiful scraps of flour and just knead it until it comes together and it's a little bit smoother and elastic. This dough is dense and it will be slightly sticky. Now I want to give you one little tip that is a really good tip for any baker that is using yeast. Some yeast doughs, no matter what you do, the recipe may be too dry. There may not be enough water. So you know what? There's nobody watching when you make your own bread dough. Add a little water if the dough is too dry. If it's too wet, you can always add a little more flour. Sometimes when I measure and I pack the flour by accident, sometimes I'll need a little extra water because I probably put in too much flour. So what I have on the side here is a bowl that is pretty big, so it allows my dough to rise and gives it room to rise. And I've sprayed it with nonstick cooking spray or wiped it down with a little vegetable oil or any type of oil that you want. Notice it's coming together. It doesn't look so shaggy anymore. And once we get this beautiful dough, feeling sort of slightly sticky but elastic, it is time to let it rise. And it's going to go for a nice long rise. So I'm going to put it in my bowl. I'm going to wipe it around, sort of like I'm sponging off that bowl, and I'm going to flip it over. So the grease side is up. You see that? Plastic wrap is going to go on the top. I'm going to take plastic wrap, seal it. If you don't have plastic wrap or you don't want to use plastic wrap, you can actually use a kitchen towel. Clean and dry kitchen towel. Seal it really well. And I'm going to wash my hands real quick. And we're going to let that go for about 2 hours. And if it's in a nice warm area in your kitchen or an unlit oven, that will work nicely. In the summertime, sometimes you can just put it on your porch. 2 hours is good. It should double in size. And you know what I like to do? I like to sort of take a marker and write down 2 hours from now, whatever that time is. Okay? Easy to remember. I'm going to put this in a nice warm spot. Now, in the meantime, we need to make our filling, our onion leeks, for our filling of our Bialys. So I'm going to move my mixer. All right? Oh boy! This is my weightlifting day. And we are going to make the filling. And I'm going to do it over here because I really want you to see it. So I'm going to use my induction hot plate. Get this ready. Okay. And I have a saucepan in which I've put 2½ tablespoons of, I use canola oil, but you can use olive oil, canola oil, anything you want. We're going to get that nice and hot. And then what I've done is I've actually chopped up in small little cubes 1 medium onion, any type of onion you want. Could be Vidalia, could be a white onion, could be a yellow onion, it doesn't matter. And 1 leek. Make sure you clean your leeks. They're very dirty vegetables. So make sure that you go inside each level of the leek, and you want to just cut that very, very thin. So I've also taken 2 cloves of garlic because we want to have, you know, little something extra in here. So it has such a wonderful flavor. And wait till you see what your kitchen smells like while you're sauteing this. You will get people, neighbors, walking in from the street saying, "What are you doing in there?" Because it smells so good. So come on over and take a look. Come on over. So just put it all in together. And you're just going to saute this for maybe about 5 minutes until you see that everything is slightly caramelized but not burnt. If you see a few brown spots, that's good. I like a little flavor. Don't shy away from a little bit of caramelization. You know, when you caramelize vegetables over heat, they actually get sweeter. So that's why some people who may not be able to handle raw garlic, they can handle cooked garlic because it cooks it down. Vegetables are carbohydrates, and they have long chains of starches, long chains of sugars, which make up the starches in them. And when they break down by heat, those sugars come out and they get sweeter. So you see that's already starting. It's only been in less than a minute. Let that go for a minute. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you what else I have. I have a tablespoon of poppy seeds. If you really like poppy seeds, you could add 1.5 tablespoons, but a tablespoon's really good. If you don't like poppy seeds, leave them out. You could use sesame seeds. You could use chia seeds. You could use any seed you want. I have 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, black, freshly ground black pepper, and I have about 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. And I'm not going to put that in yet. I'm going to put that in when this gets nice and caramelized. You want to let this filling cool before you put it into your bialy. So you want to make sure that it does have time to cool before you continue. So this 2-hour period is really a nice time while you're letting the dough rise. It's a nice time to make your filling. And then that allows the family and your friends to say, "What's coming? This yummy stuff is coming." So while we're waiting for that, All right, I'm just going to let that caramelize a little bit. I'm going to show you that I have a dough already. Go get that. So look how nice this rose. This dough has basically doubled in size from what it was. And when I take it out, you'll see how puffy it is and yummy it looks, because we really want a lot of puff in our bialy. You can see the carbon dioxide. You can actually see some carbon dioxide in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out. See it? Very spongy. And that is that protein matrix gluten that's actually holding in carbon dioxide from the fermentation process of the yeast. It's so cool. All right. Now at this point, what I want to do is I'm going to give this another rise, but I'm going to give it a rise in small roll shapes, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. All right, I'm stirring my bialy mixture, my filling, because we're almost there. Actually, almost there. And I'm going to call it, I'm calling it that it's done. I'm going to add my filling ingredients. Boom, boom, boom. And then in order for it to, I'm going to show it to you. I don't know if you can see this lusciousness. You see how the poppy seeds coat that beautiful leek and onion filling and garlic? So nice. So what I'm going to do is put it over here and allow it to cool. A very nice trick, if you are in a hurry and you don't have time to make this, you can even make the filling the night before or the day before or a few days before. You can actually put this into a nice ice water bowl, like a bowl of icy water, and just let it cool. But that should be fine by the time we're done. All right. So what I like to do is get these into 12 equal pieces. And there are many ways to do that. You can just eyeball it and actually just make sort of a log, cut it in half and make 6 from one and 6 from the other. But sometimes I like them exact. I like exact amounts. So I'll take my digital scale, I'll put a small plate on there, or even a piece of plastic wrap, put on, and I will weigh in the bowl, if you want to do it in the bowl, weigh the entire dough, and then just divide by 12, and you'll get maybe 3 ounces, 3 1/4 ounces. I find the best amount of bialy, see how sort of spongy that is? I like about a 3 1/4 ounce bialy. So that is 2 1/2, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this after. And I'm cutting it with my bench scraper. If you don't have a bench scraper, use a big knife. So that's about 3 1/4, 3 1/2 ounces. So I'm just going to turn that off. You just do this until you get about 12 pieces, or you can also just eyeball it. Don't worry about it if you don't have a scale. So I'm going to leave this over here, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these. So right now, I need you to make a C. Make a C. C is for cookie, but we're making bialys. And you're going to make a C, and you're not going to add any flour, no flour. Using too much flour causes a dry bialy or a dry yeast bread. You don't want that. So you're going to make a C, and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll this. See what I'm doing? Make sort of a C and go fast. On your work surface, see what I'm doing? And you're going to push down on the floor, look, and I'm dragging it. What I'm actually doing is I'm creating an elastic, very thin gluten layer around so that it will hold carbon dioxide inside as we let it rise again. And the reason we're doing this is fermentation with that yeast is not going to stop until it goes into the oven. So let me show you what they look like. You will make 12 balls. You'll round them. That's what's known as rounding. And you'll let them rise for about 2 to 2.5 hours. I don't know if you can see that. Look at the little air bubbles of carbon dioxide. Isn't that beautiful? So that is what they look like after 2 to 2.5 hours. And you don't want to let them do it. They were actually spaced apart, but they sort of had this loving thing going on, and now they're sort of together. So look at the difference between how they came out now after the first rising, and look at the second rising. Look at that, okay? What that does is, that is holding tons of carbon dioxide. And now those are ready to form our Bialys. And those are ready to bake. We don't have to let them rise again. So we're going to do, I'm going to pretend that this one is going to be, I'm going to let that rise over here by itself, this little guy. And then I'm going to get a sheet pan covered with parchment paper. I have preheated my oven to 475, and these are only going to bake for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. And you're going to take one of these beautiful little creatures. All right. You see that? And you're going to use your knuckles. And you're just going to sort of, you can actually hear the air bubbles. It's almost like bubble paper. And you're going to pull it out. So it makes a lip. See how it's making a lip? Watch, I'm going to do this for you like this so you can watch over my... And see how gravity's working and it's pulling down? Gravity's working, and we're going to make a lip. So this is the lip around. And we're going to go maybe 4 or 5 inches in diameter. And you can shape it. And then we want the middle very, very thin. See that? And we're going to put it onto our sheet pan. Okay, so you see that? It almost looks like a little, very shallow swimming pool. Okay, I'm going to do another one for you so you'll see. All right, so you're going to use your knuckles. Keep that circular shape, but make a lip. See, I'm going around to make a lip. All right, and then I'm going to hold it up. And just sort of take my thumbs. I'm doing thumb, 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 thumb. Almost like you're texting. Yeah, I can't text like that. And you're just going to keep that lip going. See how beautiful that is? And it gets really thin in the middle. Okay, 4 or 5 inches. And then you're going to go down. All right? Now we're going to take our Bialy mix. Bialy filling mix. All right, I'm washing my hands again because I got dry dough on there and I don't want dry dough on there. Okay. And then you're going to take a heaping tablespoon of this lusciousness. My oven is preheated to 475. 475, that's not a mistake. That's a hot oven. And I'm going to put a tablespoon. Yes, it's a little hot, but I'm going to go right in the oven. Normally I would let this cool. All right. You're not going to do anything else to it right now. You don't have to fold anything. You're just going to leave it like that. Then before I put it in the oven, I spritz it. I spritz it with a water bottle. If you don't have a water bottle, you can always use a pan of hot water on the bottom rack of your oven. And then I just spritz. Okay? And if you spritz, what this does, spritzing actually prevents a crust from forming too soon. So it allows that fermentation process and the yeast to keep on fermenting and the carbon dioxide to keep filling in those spaces in that gluten matrix. All right? And then once it sets, that yeast is giving its life for your Bialy. I hope you appreciate that. So that once it dies, it will actually die and leave its swan song, so you will have incredible Bialys. You're going to bake these for 10 to 15 minutes, and if they're not brown enough for you, sometimes I pop them under the broiler for a minute or two. Let me show you what they look like when they're done. Let me show you. Are these a thing of beauty? Look at them! Look at them! Look at them. So this is what they look like when they're raw, and this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. Now, these you could serve with a little schmear of cream cheese and some smoked salmon. That would be delicious. Or they would make a great roast beef sandwich. And you can cut them in half. It's going to be very, very thin. Think of it as a low-carb sandwich, but utterly delicious. And you can eat them any way you want. For breakfast, you can eat them for brunch, any type of roll. They are spectacular. So don't forget to be a subscriber. Till next time.